Ladies and gentlemen,
this is a run revolving mighty block. It's good night, freaking Irene!
let's get ready to rumble!
Time! Knows how to knock people the fire truck out.
On this episode of the Fight Chase Muay Thai and MMA podcast, we are joined by Tuff N Uff's CEO, Jeff Meyer. Jeff and his brother Barry have built the premier amateur MMA organization. Let's go.
So that's what's going on, Jeff. And like I said, we kind of just we've had world champion jiu-jitsu guys on, UFC guys on, amateur fighters, owners of companies for like product companies, just all of combat sports. And I really wanted to get kind of your point of view because everyone asks me about, the amateur this and that, and I'm like, nah, my buddy Jeff, like he's got the UFC of amateur fighting. Like that's how I've always saw it. I mean, when I went to, like, once you moved out of the ballroom over to South Point, man, it was like, this is just an event. Like, Pack the Mac. This is like they have professional shows that aren't that big. So, whatever you want to talk about, man. We have no agenda. We don't have anything. We're not censored. It's just us talking, getting to know you, your story, how it came about, what you're trying to do, anything that you want to say. You want to tell me to go fuck myself? You want to tell me about aliens and weed? I don't care. Like there's, it's all good. So we just like to get to know the people that are in the combat sports. I don't think we've ventured too much outside of combat sports with people yet, but I'm sure we will at some point.
Well, thanks for wanting to have me on the show. It's an honor, brother. And, I might have a little bit of a different perspective than, the fighters because I'm admittedly not a fighter. My brother was, and he was like the toughest dude I ever knew. I mean, but he always told me there's always somebody tougher, no matter who you think is the toughest guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? So thanks. I'd love to talk about, anything. I don't want to say fuck off to you, but I wouldn't mind talking about weed or aliens, whatever, But I think it'd be really, kind of cool to talk a little bit about the history of Tuff N Uff. I don't know. I was just thinking it's a really cool story, and it's quite a long one, but I'd be happy to tell it.
Yeah. So Jeff, welcome. So let's get right into it, and that's how we normally start. Is kind of where did so you said you have a different journey than fighters. So where did your martial arts interest come from? And then how did that blossom into, what you have today?
Well, thanks for asking. Great question. I was a karate kid growing up, right? Back when I was growing up, I mean, I'm older than the dirt, right? So, when I was growing up, things were a little different in America. We didn't know about jiu-jitsu, right? Mm-hmm. It was karate, taekwondo. So my brother, he had become a black belt in taekwondo at 12 years old. Okay, so I kind of followed in his footsteps and was basically his punching bag, if you will. I mean, every day after karate class, he'd be like, all right, let's put on the gloves and the helmet and the headgear and let's go spar. And I was like, okay, so he pretty much toughened me up, if you will. But being a karate kid, there was always this big question. You thought that, you're super fast and powerful punches and kicks could defend you from anything. And one of my best friends, Jordan Silverman, who is a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt now, he was an awesome, standout high school wrestler. And we always had this debate. He's like, I'm going to shoot in and I'm going to take you down. I said, I'm going to kick you in the head so hard you're going to, So we always had this debate, and then UFC 1 happened, okay? My brother and I were both watching. He was living in Chicago at the time. I was living in Arizona where I was going to college. And we had in the suburbs of Chicago where we lived a big satellite dish, those old big ones that moved.
Yeah.
And so there was this satellite guide that came out once a month, big, huge thing. and it listed, all the programming coming up. My brother goes, brother, there's this thing coming up. It's the Ultimate Fighting Challenge. I don't know if it's going to be real or fake, but it's talking about like they're going to pit karate versus jiu-jitsu, wrestling versus kickboxing. It's like, we got to watch this. So I was like, wow, okay. We both, were so curious. Is it going to be some, kind of like pro wrestling, or is it going to be real?
Right.
And so we were watching, like I said, I was in Arizona. He was in Chicago. After that first fight, Taylor Tooley versus Gerard Gordeau, and Gerard knocked his tooth out. We called each other. I don't remember who called who first, but I was, oh my God, it's real.
Yeah.
Right? So, of course, the history that Royce Gracie ended up just showing America and the world, that jiu-jitsu was the true, let's call it like truth in martial arts. And it really opened our eyes, as I said, being like a karate kid and being like totally just blown away by what everybody saw. Royce, the skinny, not very, bad looking dude, if you will, not super muscular guy, beat the crap out of everybody.
Yeah. Right?
So my brother and I were like, okay, well, let's go back to the drawing board. Started taking jiu-jitsu, judo. Then let's fast forward a little bit. In 1994, less than a year after the very first UFC, my brother formed Tuff N Uff Productions in Chicago, and he promoted our very first kickboxing event on June 18th of 1994.
Wow.
Yeah, and because in Illinois back then, where we grew up, MMA wasn't legal, just kickboxing was, right? So he ended up booking it in our high school gym. I couldn't believe he got that done. Good for him. God bless him. So we walk into the event, and there's our Dean Hargesheimer, who, put us in detention for fighting all the time. It's like directing us to our seats at the fight. It's like such a cool thing. But so that was the very first Tuff N Uff, right? Like watching the UFC and learning that, there was so much more than just traditional karate, opened our eyes and like really lit a fire underneath my brother's butt, I guess, if you will. And he's like, I want to get into this. This is my passion. I've been in karate my whole life. I'm a dedicated martial artist. I love this. And so he decided that he wanted to, make a promotion, started Tuff N Uff. In Chicago, we did about 4 shows. Okay. They were like here and there. We were kind of just getting our, feet off the ground or whatever in life. Gosh, my brother was like only 22 years old, right? So he was like, had a day job and was working the promotion whenever he could, save up enough money to try an event, go back to the drawing board, save up some more money, try another event. But a really cool thing I'd like to tell you guys about our very first event, please.
Yeah.
Is my brother was amazing. He was brilliant. Okay. He somehow got, like I mentioned, the high school to allow us to do it in the gym. He also got the local cable company in Chicago called Cablevision. Huge, like company, 10 million people or whatever in Chicago. This was the cable company. They came out and filmed our fight. The very first Tuff N Uff. So every Tuff N Uff since the very first one was filmed professionally, multiple cameras, slide switching, instant replay, graphics, color commentary, and we had girls on the very first Tuff N Uff. We've always had female fighters, and I think like it's kind of cool to see that we were doing it before it was cool.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the start of Tuff N Uff, if you will. But let me just fast forward a little bit. So we're doing shows sporadically in Chicago. My brother's like, I think we got to be in Vegas, brother. We got to, the fight capital of the world. Let's try it and, see if we can get a license. In 2002, he got a promoter's license. In Nevada, back then it was both boxing and MMA were the same license. Okay, so he got the promoter's license for professional MMA. And we were doing pro MMA and kickboxing events in Vegas for years, okay? And like, as you mentioned, I know you've been to the South Point events and some of the other venues we've been around to, but the South Point in particular was really like kind of our, let's call it graduation from the ballroom into like a bit bigger of an arena. And what an awesome event, what an awesome venue. And the people were really so amazing to work with. So we're doing all these events, and my brother's like, you know what? We got to give these amateurs a shot. There's no amateur legitimate promotions right now. And he's like, they have it in every other sport. Okay. There's got to be a place for these guys and girls to build up their skills in like a developmental league. And I'll be honest, brother, I was like, at the time, I didn't agree with him. I was like, oh man, I don't know, you're scaring me. I don't think anyone's going to come. It's like, we're going to have these events and you'll hear a pin drop and it's going to be like, totally empty. He's like, Jeff, I'm telling you, we got to do it. He's like, I think, it's just worth a shot. And I'm telling you, people are going to love it because the kids, the fighters are, so hungry, and that they have their family and their friends want to support them and watch their journey to the next level. So I'm like, okay, we disagreed on many things. Most of the time he was right, but this one, he was totally right. So we did the first amateur event. Well, let me back up. Sorry. He had to get it approved because in Nevada, amateur MMA wasn't legal. So it took him about like 10 months of like going to the Nevada Athletic Commission meetings. He brought like a sanctioning body. He brought a doctor, and, he explained the rules and basically got the approval of the Nevada Athletic Commission to legalize amateur MMA in Nevada in 2007. Okay. Our very first amateur event in Nevada was in 2008. It took us a little while to, get it from the legalization to promotion. So I remember he's like, all right, well, what do we do different? I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, we're not like, we didn't go to school for promotion. We weren't concert promoters. We're just two dudes trying to do these things, right? So we're like, I don't know, just put the fights on. We kept everything, like all the video, all the lights, all the sound. We had lasers, and it was kind of cool. My brother was like way into lasers, and of course so am I, but he had these lasers that would spell the fighter's name out on the wall. So it's like such a cool experience, at the amateur level to see these kids coming out in like, a very high level amateur promotion. So we go ahead and we do the first show, and it was awesome. I mean, I was totally wrong, right? Like the fans were a pretty good number. It took a little while to build it up and eventually, get to like selling out and stuff. But the fans, there was a good amount of attendance. The fans were loud, screaming, and the casino was really happy. They were like, we see the same kind of activity, at the food. At the bar in the venue. They're selling a lot of food. They're selling a lot of drinks. So the difference between amateur and pro for us was just, simply that. Just, the rule change, a slightly shortened round, no elbows, and it, of course, increased fighter safety. But is there a little bit of glare behind me? Sorry about that.
There was. It was like moving in.
Yeah, it looks gone now.
Okay. Sorry about that. So the very first fight event, I was like totally blown away and convinced that my brother was right. So we started this, he started the series called The Future Stars of MMA. And we focused on, just that, amateurs that needed a shot. And because we had been doing it for so long, I think that, things were a lot different back then. Like the sport was still, let me think. Back then, the Ultimate Fighter was like reaching its popularity, its height of popularity. Like the sport, like everybody was in Vegas for the fights, and because Tuff N Uff was in Vegas, we were getting like all the big celebrities were coming in. It was like such a real cool honor. My brother would be like, hey, this person wants tickets. Can you call them? This person wants tickets. And for, the promoters, oh, wow, that's really cool to have these celebrities. But more importantly, for like the fighters, and all the fans, like these are their gods, right? Like
Yeah.
these guys, to see them in the seats watching their fights, like that was the coolest thing for me. And you know, I'll throw a couple names out there. For example, like Joe Rogan. You know, he's such an awesome dude, and he was so nice to. Like, I was just thinking back. A buddy of mine, Mark Smith, was just on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he talked a little tiny bit about his starting off as a referee. He started at Tuff N Uff. Well, I was just thinking, you know, it was so cool about when Joe was coming to Tuff N Uff, and you know, the fighters would be like, you know, coming to the corner, coming in the blue corner, we got Kelly, and they come in there, and then they look around and they see Joe Rogan is sitting right there. You know, really cool experience. And that's a interesting, like, kind of side note, if you will. I got to tell the story about how I met Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in Sao Paulo in 2003 for the Abu Dhabi, you know, the World Championships, because Tuff N Uff had promoted the North American qualifiers for the Abu Dhabi World Championship in San Diego. And so, like, Barry called me up. He's like, brother, do you want to go down to, you know, Brazil and watch the finals? I'm like, oh, yeah, of course.
No.
He was like, you know, pretty successful dude, and much more so than I ever would be. So he flew me down there, and like, what an awesome experience. Well, Eddie Bravo had just won. Okay, well, he beat, was it, what, it wasn't Hoyler Gracie.
Yeah, it was Hoyler, wasn't it?
Was it Hoyler? Okay, no, it was
Yeah.
A. Gracie. Okay, so Eddie Bravo just beat Hoyler Gracie, and we're in the lobby of the Pestana Hotel in Sao Paulo, and my brother's like, hey, there's Rogan right there, and you know, he's like, talks about weed openly all over his website, right? Go up and talk to him. And I'm like, okay. So I go, hey, just wanted to say congratulations, Eddie. That was so awesome. And, you know, I know that, you know, you guys are like really into weed, and I happen to have brought some really good weed from San Diego. and Joe goes, shut up. Let's go right now. So that was awesome. I got to meet Joe and hang out with him and Eddie, and I've been like so lucky to have had that experience. You know, Eddie Bravo's been tremendous, such a supportive guy, and such an awesome dude. Both of those guys, I'm so thankful, you know, for that experience, to have met them. And it was just so cool. Like when I was living in San Diego after that, and Joe would come down to do his like stand-up comedy shows, he would call me and we'd hang out after the shows and like walking around downtown, and like all these people would come running up like, oh my God, it's Joe Rogan, you know? So that was such a fun experience. And look, I'm a big fan of the sport, and, you know, even I get like, you know, kind of starstruck or whatever. So like, you know, for me to see how cool it is to, you know, see these people who I look up to was awesome for all the fans at Tuff N Uff. So like, I really loved that experience. And, you know, kind of like getting back to the beginning, early days of the amateur MMA, man, we came out of the gate so strong. I'm so lucky that my brother, you know, had the foresight to think and decide that he wanted to do this, and that we had so much support from all these amazing athletes in Vegas. But now we're going to get to a little bit of a sad part. I'm sorry. I'll try not to get choked up, but you know, Kelly, my brother passed away in 2013. I'm wearing this shirt. I don't know if you can see, my sleeve says,
oh, yeah.
Stop Suicide. Because my brother battled he suffered from depression and fought for most of his adult life. And in 2013, he lost that battle. It was the most incredibly painful, difficult, earth-like shattering experience you could ever imagine. My brother was very loved, and like, he was so good to people that, you know, a lot of people supported Tuff N Uff and his little dumbass brother Jeff. Okay, I remember. I'm gonna try to move past this part here in a second, you know, because it's very sad. But I would like to acknowledge that, you know, my family and I we didn't know what was walking around trying to can't think about anything when something like that happens. We're looking for funeral homes, and, you know, we didn't have any idea. It was like, let's get this little room and just make it very small and be done with it. But I had a feeling, I'm like, I don't know, I think we need a little bit bigger of a room. So we got this huge room on like 1,000 people it could hold, and it was packed. It was over capacity. Sorry. The amount of people that came out to my brother's funeral was tremendous, like over 1,000 people. Okay, so that was really powerful, and it really made me realize, a lot of things. I wish my brother knew how many people cared about him, man. And I just want to say that, anybody listening that is suffering from depression, please reach out. And if anybody is listening that has a family member that they worry about might be suffering from depression, please reach out. Okay? I just think that, it's a really depressed world right now. And like a lot of people are struggling really bad. And I would encourage you to please check in on all your friends and family. And, the point of telling that story is, I'm very grateful for all the support that we have in Vegas. And I want to thank everybody for being so good to my brother.
He was nothing but kind, any time that I saw him at the fights. And you never heard a bad word about him. I mean, about you maybe, but about your brother,
Good, thanks. I gotta say, I was so, like, what do they say? Nobody could beat up my brother but me, right? So, like, he used to beat the crap out of me, but if anybody laid a finger on me, he would kill them.
Oh, I'm sure.
So,
yeah. No, and I understand, Jeff. It's like you were saying is, we just had Kevin Ross on, and we were talking to him about just everything that's going on, because he's very vocal about suicide and all the things that are going on and things like that. And like I said before we started, I learned that depression can just happen. It's not, it is a sickness. I'm depressed. I've been depressed for probably almost a year now. The gym's closed. I had no direction there. When I had my business in Vegas, I gave my business to my business partner to move to Thailand, and I came back and I got stuck. Like, my plan of life is shot. It was like it was just thrown into a loop. I have somewhere to stay. I stay with my sister, but I gained weight. I wouldn't train. I don't want to do shit. And so I try every day to realize, okay, this isn't as bad as my mind is making it. But I also learned so much that someone like a famous rich person, someone like your brother, you have a lot going that it can affect anyone at any time. And I didn't understand that, because when I was, before I ever experienced being in such a bad place, I was like, how the fuck can a rich person be depressed? Like, I don't, very simplistic of me to think that, but I'm like, how, if you have everything, how can you be depressed? Like, what is it? And then I don't need anything. When I'm in the States, I stay with my sister. My sister takes care of my dog. Like, I'm not out, like I'm not living on the street. I should have, in my mentality of previously, I should have no reason to be depressed. I'm on vacation or whatever, but I realized this can happen to anyone. And like you were saying, and I fight with it every day, and I try and stay as positive as I can, and I keep busy, and I talk to friends that, just to have a conversation, even though they may not know the extent of how I'm feeling, just to have conversation and talk to people and do things like that. But I realized this shit is real, and it's not something that we can just go, oh, they're having a bad day. That if you do hear somebody going, I'm depressed, and here's another thing that I learned is, I always thought, like, why can't these people just ask for help? Because I know I'm depressed, but you can't just ask people, because I think the people that get depressed have pride, and you don't want to. First of all, you can't put that shit on Facebook. You can't just. I don't ever put my feelings on Facebook because it's such a toxic place, or any social media. It's just toxic. Somebody will be a smartass or whatever, but you can't put yourself out there like that, because one, you'll get a lot of false re-encouragement. I think it's kind of empty. People are like, oh, feel better, and you're like, you fucking don't even know who I am. And that I don't think that's good either. Like, that to me would be like, these people are even more fake than you could think of. So it's like you were saying, is I agree 100%, and I follow all of this stuff that you're when you put out those messages about helping somebody or call somebody. I agree 1,000,000% that if you worry, even if you don't worry, that's the thing. That's like, to me, you can't leave your friends. You can't leave your loved ones. You can't not make a phone call because you have to go to work today. You can't not at least send a smiley emoji to your friends. You can't not do that, especially with what we're dealing with now, because this shit happens for real. And to me, okay, now I'm in the worst shape that I've been in 10 years, but I'm just going to keep going. I have a goal, and I'm trying to work through it. I still talk to people. I do my best to stay positive. But what about the other people that don't? So if you have that one person that you just haven't texted in a while, text them. Text them, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Nothing, you don't have to fucking pry into somebody's life. Just, hey, what's up? I had a super close, basically a brother of mine. I'm straight edge. I've never done a drug in my life. I never drank alcohol. But I'm straight edge to the point where I don't give a shit what you do. If you're a good person, man, be you. One of my best, closest friends, he used to indulge in a lot of things. He owned his own business. He loved pills. I don't know what else I saw him do, but I saw him doing it. And I would watch him. And I don't judge. If you're cool with me and I don't see you fucking up other people and that's your vice, whatever. And I watched this process, and I said one day, I just called him. I sent him a message, and I said, hey, are you good? That's all the message said. I believe he's over 5 years sober now of everything, because
awesome.
That tricked something in his brain that he was like, this guy that cares about me, that we would go to war together, just asked if I was good. That's all it was. So like with that, we have to take care of each other, because the people that are making all of this happen, they don't give a fuck. So you and I, Jeff, you reach out, Kurt, anybody, anybody that's listening to this, if you have a friend, a family member, anybody, somebody you went to high school with, and you see them post a picture or a meme or whatever, give them, hey, and don't do it on social media. Make that personal connection. If you send them a private message. This is the same thing as I do. With a birthday message. If I see it's your birthday, I try it. If I know you personally, I send you a message. I don't put it like on your news feed. I get professional fighters in Thailand wishing me happy birthday. I've never met them, just because they see it pop up, and it's like one of those things. But like you said, Jeff, I lost my parents. I didn't lose them that way. I lost them both when they were very young. I was younger, and that killed me. Like, it's not supposed to happen. You losing your brother, it's like, I'm sure that you and your family think about it all the time, but it's like, what if? What if I said something? What if something happened? What if? And it sucks. So, unfortunately, we have to kind of get something from that. I go back and think, because I lost my mom from MS, but she lived with me, and I saw her go from 6 months from driving a car to not getting out of bed, and I had her move in with me. And it's like, when it was finally over, I was like, God, thank God that she's not suffering anymore. But then I had months that I was like, did I not say I love you? Did I not do something right? Should I have picked her up? Should I have done this? It's like, we have so much that if we can just do these little things, just ask ask somebody if they're good. That's all.
That's it.
Reach out. And I don't want to go on too long. This is for you.
No,
But,
I think that was a very, very important point. And one I'd also like to make is like, it doesn't take much, just a simple call, text, check in. I think that you'll find that people will be very appreciative, especially if they're struggling right now. So thanks for the good reminder. Anybody, that is suffering, please reach out. And if you think that one of your friends or family members is suffering, give them a call and just check in. It could literally bring them back from the brink of darkness.
Yeah.
But let's also try to come from the darkness and talk about some good stuff, okay? I'll try to tell you like some really exciting things for Tuff N Uff, which is, this whole quarantine thing happened, and that was a crazy thing. So it was like we had our last event February 15th, and we had an event scheduled on March 14th, got the day before all the fighters weighed in, and then the commission called me and told me, "Oh, sorry, we gotta cancel it." This was, and it was a Friday, an event, and then of course the commission that Friday morning had an emergency meeting to stop all events. I'm like, great. So now because Tuff N Uff was going to do an event, he had to cancel every single event in town. Everybody's going to be mad at me. So, but it was like, oh man, and as you can imagine, nobody knew what was going on back then. We're like, I don't know. We went and bought one of those thermometers, the kind that you scan, and people are walking up and they're like trying to come into the weigh-ins, and we're like, all right, I got to take your temperature, and this, like I said, nobody knew what was going on. So I was like joking with the people. I'm like, all right, turn around, pull your pants down, let me scan your temp. And so but as I say, unfortunately the next morning, boom, the commission canceled it. And now we've been, almost a year, right? It's like, wow. But I'm finding some light at the end of the tunnel, I think. I'm hearing stuff about Vegas might be opening really soon, like 50% capacity, and then maybe short time after that back to 100%, right? Like, I don't have the magic wand or crystal ball. I don't know. All I know is I don't want my friends or family to get sick and die, right? So whatever we got to do, let's please do it. Let's get back to normal. But, during this time of pandemic, quarantine or whatever, we've been totally shut down. No events possible. But we've been working in the background, and I'm really happy to tell you that we did a deal. We were selected by UFC Fight Pass to broadcast our events on
Awesome.
Fight Pass.
Oh,
yeah. Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Dude.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
Thanks. I'm so happy about that, and it was such a thrilling and awesome experience. And I thank everybody at the UFC, who made this possible. But we're going to be, very soon, I think, in the next maybe 3 months, depending upon the governor, hopefully we'll be coming back and doing amazing things, including events on Fight Pass.
That's great. That's awesome. And then, you already had the promotion, like I was saying before. You have the UFC of amateur fighting. Like, I've been to your shows. I've been to your shows from the ballrooms to South Point to Pack the Mac to you have the shows. So when I joined Vanderlei's Gym, because I had gone to your shows before that, when I joined Vanderlei's Gym and started going with the team, I was like, holy shit, this is just like professional. Like, this is the real deal. And that's when we were at South Point, and literally, you're walking out of this tunnels and you're doing the whole same thing. You had the whole VIP area, which I thought was way cooler than UFC. I don't even know where they would have that. They would be way in the back. Yours was right cage side with the tables and all that shit. And it was like, man, this is so cool. And I remember going to the first events in the ballroom, and you would see Randy, or you would see Frank Mir, and they'd just be in the crowd. And this was right when I started martial arts, and I was like, holy shit, like you're saying, I was like, that's so cool. These guys are just here. And,
Totally.
And that's when I went into Vanderlei's gym, and he was the second or the first day that I joined, and he came into the gym, and I was like, oh, and he comes up to me, he's like, oh, thank you for coming. And I'm like, thank me? For what? Like, I don't know shit. And he was always so kind to me, and we became really good friends from that. But it was like, I remember, and you always were so good to the fighters, previous fighters from your cards. Hey, do you need tickets? How many tickets do you need? It was like you always gave a shit, and the production just kept growing. Like, it was always just getting better.
Thank you.
And then, like, Vanderlei, or one of the, you always gave them credit when they came. They hyped them up. And then I'm thinking, if I was a fighter from Arizona or something, in a smaller gym that only has one or two pro fighters or known fighters, and I came into Vegas and they're like, oh, Vanderlei Silva's here and Randy Couture's here, and you're like, shit, I get to fight in front of these guys. And then there's the big screen for the replays, and you're like, that was the real deal. Like, that, you obviously, you and your brother set a course for the superstars, not of amateur, literally, like your brother said, is the UFC. I mean, you could tell us more, because I'm sure that you could rattle off names, but you had, like, Rhonda Rousey in there. I mean, what are some of the notable names that pop in your head that you're like, because shit, every UFC I see you post, Tuff N Uff alumni, this and that, and there's like 7 people on the card that you've already had fighting.
Oh man, thanks. I mean, like you said, Rhonda is obviously a huge one, but there's so many more. Over 40 fighters have started with Tuff N Uff and then going on to the UFC, and way more. Yeah, thanks. More have gone on to Bellator, PFL, Invicta, but like, gosh, I mean, I could drop one big one that comes to mind recently. Well, is because Alan Juban, he's that kid that was on the part of the commentary team for the UFC over the weekend. What day is today? Monday. So yeah, he was on Saturday, and he's like that Versace model dude he was a fighter. He also is a UFC fighter, and he fought with Tuff N Uff. And it's like any of these guys or girls, when you see them come up through the ranks and then they make it to the big show, it's like, I don't have kids, so I'm like a proud papa. Maybe. Yeah. I think I could imagine that's got to be such a cool feeling to see your kid accomplish something. I guess it's as close as maybe I'll ever get. But man, I could, go on and on and on. Some of the, back in the day, we had so many awesome fighters start off with Tuff N Uff. Do you remember Chris Holdsworth? He was an Ultimate Fighter winner. Yeah. You remember him?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, he's at Uriah Faber's gym now, I think, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep, and he comes into town every so often. Now with COVID, I don't get to see anybody, unfortunately, but when he was coming to town, I'd always get to see him. And, I texted Bruce Buffer because I was like, hey, wait a second. He's going to be in Vegas on Saturday, right? And so Friday, because I wonder if he's going to be here throughout the whole week, and maybe I could take him to dinner. So I texted him, and he wrote me back. He's like, oh, thanks, I'd love to, but I'm in, the bubble, right? So I'm like, oh, duh. So what was I thinking? You can't go anywhere, But that was another awesome experience, that we had Bruce Buffer announce for Tuff N Uff before he signed exclusive with the UFC.
Really? That's great.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome. And he even we did a special submission grappling match between it was Babalu and Frank Mir, right? Yeah, and Bruce Buffer announced that one. It was so awesome, and Bruce has been such a nice guy, such a really supportive, great guy. I'm so lucky to be able to call these people, friends, and say that they were at Tuff N Uff. I mean, what an awesome history, and thanks for letting me tell it to you guys.
So, I mean, that's the thing, though. It kind of speaks to what you and your brother have done, is you have good relationships with these people because you didn't fuck them over. You didn't do what unfortunately, a lot of smaller organizations end up doing, whether, don't pay somebody or something doesn't work out or whatever. It's like that. It's like somehow you guys created this formula that was ultimate professional organization. I've gone to other shows, and I've seen. Kurt, you've gone to other shows, and they run circuses. Even like a Naga. I mean, come on. That's like they travel around the United States and do all these shows, and I mean, actually around the world now. And you go into those, and they're like, nothing's on fucking schedule, and you're there for 20 hours, and obviously it's a different thing, but it's like the way that you did things. Weigh-ins are this, professional this, doctors are there. Like everything seemed to work. The only thing that was different is the small rule set change, and you were calling it amateur. The fighters weren't amateur level. This was the stepping stone. If you could get a couple wins in Tuff N Uff, you were pro. You know, people were looking at you. So it's like you guys did the right things, and you were able, like, you could have done all of this and not been able to say that all these people are your friends. You know what I mean? Like, you could have been like, yeah, I know a couple people. But you're able to name drop, and it's not to brag, but those people can also say, yeah, they did it right. Well, I could back that. I've never heard anybody say, I wouldn't fuck with Tuff N Uff. You know what I mean? Like, I've never heard a fighter say they were treated bad. None of our teammates were ever treated bad, unless we had 30 people in the back when we weren't supposed to.
Well, that's on you, brother.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't you. It was something that you gave the security, hey, don't have this happen. And, you know, gyms will be gyms, but...
Thanks, man. Very nice compliment, and thanks for acknowledging. You know, I should mention, it's all my brother. I mean, he was the greatest guy and built so many awesome friendships. He was friends with like Rorion Gracie, and now, you know, I'm friends with, oh gosh, I'm sorry, her name is escaping me. Please forgive me, Rose. I'm so sorry. I love you, Rose Gracie, Horion's daughter. You know, is a friend of mine to this day, because my brother was friends with Rorion. He took a couple privates from Hickson in his garage. Yeah, my brother did. And so, you know, I still talk to Rose, you know, to this day. And so I think it's because, thank you for the compliment, Kelly. He was totally honest, fair, and righteous dude. And that's why I think people would, you know, hang around and like enjoy coming to our fights. You know, we never had to pay. I won't name the guy's name, but there was a famous fighter back in the day who my brother's like, hey, see if you could please invite him to the fights, right? I called, got through to some agent or something, and they're like 10 grand for him to show up. I'm like, nah. You know, all these other guys are just coming because, you know, maybe they're there to support their own fighters. Maybe they're there because they love fights. Maybe they're there because they just want to support the event. You know, who knows? But we're not paying anybody to come to our event. It's like if we had 10 grand to blow on you, I think we would blow it on something way more important. Okay. So thanks for acknowledging that. And yeah, I think it's very, very lucky that, you know, people were so supportive of my brother because he was such a good dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a team. I mean, I know, obviously, you want to make sure that nobody forgets what he does, but you were there with him. And I mean, it was a team, and now you get to carry that on in his name. So that's, you know, that's forever going to be great. And Tuff N Uff's not going anywhere. I mean, you guys are as legit as it gets. So with that, like, so like, I've always... I had fighters and younger fighters in different organizations or different gyms, and they want to be a fighter. And I say, well, you really want to fight? Let me call Jeff. And then they go, yeah, but. I'm like, well, I ain't calling nobody. That's what. So, like, if there's somebody, and somebody listens to this, a gym listens to this that isn't in the like in the vortex of Vegas, that doesn't know exactly what's going on, how can they get their team a single fighter, maybe a fighter that just wants to travel? Like, how can they get in contact with you or your matchmakers or somebody? Like, what's the process that they should take?
Oh, thanks. There's 2 ways, and only 2 ways. Okay, you have to go visit Kelly's gym or Nick's gym. Nick, you're in Reno, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm in.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Kurt. I'm in Kurt. Carson City, like right outside Reno. Yep.
Okay, so go up and visit Rick in Carson City.
Kurt. We'll get it.
We'll get it. 3rd time's a charm. And then go visit Kelly in either Thailand or where are you right now, brother?
Don't worry about where I am now. I'm in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Come to Thailand. train with me. I'll vouch for you. We'll get you going.
No, but seriously, that's a very good question. I'd like to say, you know, a lot of tough guys and girls can't afford gym memberships, right? So it's like we always want to see the guys and girls, you know, like working out in a gym, and it's much more, you know, reassuring to be able to like talk to a trainer and verify, yeah, they're in the gym, they're at this level, and you know, we feel confident putting them in there. But there's a lot of guys, like I said, and girls that, you know, are training in their gym, and there's, you know, a lot of talent out there. So I would like to say anybody is welcome to fight at Tuff N Uff. We just want to make sure that you're equal skill, you know, we'll match you up with an opponent of equal skill level. And I don't care whether you were, you know, a collegiate wrestler or a Olympic, you know, judo person, and you want to make your, you know, transition to MMA, or if you're just some dude that's like training with your brother in your garage and you want to test yourself, you deserve a shot, right? So how to get into Tuff N Uff? Anybody listening is welcome to please shoot us a message, you know, go to our website or our social media channels and, you know, like message us there. Probably the best way. Like, I don't want to blow up my matchmaker, to be perfectly honest.
I got you. No. I just meant in general.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So in general, I think like, and especially in Vegas, I would encourage fighters come out to Vegas and train. There's so many awesome gyms out here, and get in one of these gyms and they'll tell you when you're ready and they'll call us. And, you know, we're very fortunate to have some of the biggest and baddest gyms in the entire world here. And, you know, we can call these world-class trainers and, you know, they'll tell us who's ready.
Yeah.
But that's not to say, you know, like, don't be discouraged. Anybody, I think, should be able to fight. And as long as you're, you know, taking it seriously, and we can, you know, if you're not in a gym, we'll probably ask, like, to come visit you or to watch some video of some training, you know, to make sure you're legit.
What about like tagging Tuff N Uff or something like that on social media, like your training videos or stuff like that? Would that kind of open somebody's eyes possibly?
You know, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not the biggest savvy guy on there. I used to be pretty good. So, like, I don't know if I would even see that. But everybody at Tuff N Uff, you know, who's like on our social media or who has social media, I think for the most part is like an admin. You know, I click on admin. So like when a notification for Tuff N Uff goes off, I think it goes off on their phone too. So I'm not sure, but please feel free to tag us. And, you know, I would just encourage anybody that's interested in fighting, go find a promotion. I think that there's so many great ones out there. Tuff N Uff's obviously got my heart, but there's also many others that are really good. And I think, you know, get some experience, and we'd love to have you in the Tuff N Uff cage, whether it's your first fight or your last fight right before you're going pro.
Yeah, where I'm at now, Calvin Cater's organization is out of here, out of Mass, right down, and that's where the fighters that I were training, they were fighting out of there. So, cool. And it was cool, but you walk in there and it's like, this isn't tough enough.
Thank you. That's a nice compliment. We're always trying to grow, and I can't even tell you how excited I am to see the fights on Fight Pass, yes. Right? Like, you know, we used to do pros, and, you know, like, for many years we were doing just pros, right? So I'm excited that we got a lot of exciting stuff. Fight Pass, we're going to be doing pro fights. We're going to be moving around. You never know. We might be up in your neck of the woods up in Reno. I actually had a conversation with a big resort up there. You know, I won't say exactly which one, but you could probably figure it out because they're doing like a $50 million renovation right now.
Okay. I got you. I Man, we got a lot of fighters up here, so you wouldn't have trouble finding anybody.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to ask you for some fighters if we can make it up there in your neck of the woods.
For sure. Yeah, I could get you some guys.
So what does a fighter so a fighter comes out to fight for Tuff N Uff from another state or whatever. Does Tuff N Uff, being an amateur organization, offer them anything, or is it just, hey, get here and like what should they expect? Should, you know, obviously they have to do, you know, pass the physical and all that stuff the day before, be on weight and that type of things. But like hotels or anything that would come to mind that a fighter is going to worry about, what should they have to take into account personally?
Well, thanks. Look, I mean, we always like to say, if you're coming to Vegas to fight, we'll take care of your rooms. We'll take care of your meals. We'll take care of if you're in like driving distance. Oftentimes we'll pay some gas money. If it's an inexpensive flight, we'll help pay for the flight. But the truth is, like, I think almost any promotion, when we need a fight, like a fighter drops off and we're like scrambling, look, anywhere in the country, I don't care where the guy or girl is, right? It's like in those moments, you have to sometimes pay a little bit more, like, last minute flights from the East Coast could be several $100,
Yeah.
plus a trainer, so we always like to say, please, if you want to fight for Tuff N Uff, come to Vegas and we got you.
Yeah.
But there are special circumstances where either, like we have to last minute make a fight, or, it's just like a really standout, like Rhonda Rousey would be an example. Like, we knew she was going to be something special, and she was like, her story, she was living in her car, man. She couldn't afford to come out here. So in those kinds of cases, we'll do our best to help get them to Vegas. But luckily here in this, region, we're so close to California, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico. We have, but I'll tell you a story. There's a kid out of New York, and my brother was like, Jeff, this kid's driving out to fight, right? He's leaving right now. He'll be here in like 3 days. He's like paying his own way and everything, coming out here. I'm like, awesome. Wow. So couple years, fast forward a couple years, we're in New York at the Turning Stone Casino. We're doing a Tuff N Uff there. And I'm outside just like kind of catching my breath, and it's intermission, kind of getting my thoughts. And this kid comes up to me. He's like, Jeff. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I drove to Vegas. I live right down the street from this casino. I'm like, that was you, bro. I can't even believe it. What a small world, right?
Yeah,
that was wild.
I've run into people in Thailand from, I tell this story a couple of times, that Sydney Silva's gym, I ran into one of his coaches in Thailand. And I was like, just by a t-shirt that I noticed him. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are they on a little boat traveling to an island? Like, how the hell does this? It's crazy. And then the friendships that you make too are amazing. I mean, Jeff, I met you through some business, not even mentionable things earlier. Not anything bad, but I had a business partner that was not great with me. And then, throughout the years, I would see you in the morning going to get your coffee when I was going to the shop, once I had my own business. And it was like, oh, Jeff. And I would see you all the time, and we'd just talk. And then I'd see you at the fights and things like that. But it's like those relationships that you build up. They're not negative, which is cool. Like, you're building, because you kind of know the character, especially in martial arts. You kind of know the character of the people that you're coming in contact with, which makes it so much easier. And that's what I said before, is like, I had friends when I was younger. We all had friends. But the friends that I met in the gym, like Kurt and I hung out for a month in Thailand, not together. Like, we didn't go there together. We met up in Thailand. So it's like these relationships that you build through martial arts, through the respect, and especially once you're in the gym and you're beating the shit out of each other, they can last forever,
Totally. I'm very grateful that we met. And Kurt, it's a real pleasure to meet you. I want to get some rounds in your gym. I got to back in the gym and get in shape too, Kelly. Oh, man. Yeah. But I got to say, I was going over to 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu to train with my boy Rico 2 weeks ago Sunday. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. What am I, crazy? I haven't had the vaccine yet. I can't be out. Like, I'm going back forth to Palm Springs with my parents. So I'm like thinking, all right, do I call him and cancel? He hasn't called me yet, so I figured I'll just wait. We were supposed to meet at 10 o'clock. I called him like maybe 10:15. I'm like, brother, you're not at the gym. He's like, oh, shoot. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm just kidding. I'm not here either, brother. But I got to get back in there, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be on your show, Kelly and Kurt. Thank you. And, I hope to be able to see you guys soon. I'd love to be able to say, here, sit right here and watch the fights and just do nothing but have fun.
Yeah, those are some great times. I mean, watching your friends go to battle and just taking it all in. And I mean, like I said, you and your brother have built an amazing organization and amazing relationships. And not just we, is building relationship with you or your brother. It was that place, your bubble that you build on those fight nights. We've met fighters from so-and-so's gym, from this gym, from that gym. And, I mean, this is after we got over the we hate each other part, for the gym wars. But you would meet people, and you'd be like, oh, I'm from here or that gym, and you train with them, or you build relationships. And it's like, what you guys have built is way bigger than you probably are ever really going to imagine. It affects people way more than just come to the fights and have fun, like you were saying, which is amazing. But you're coming to the fight, you're building these memories. I have memories pop up from Tuff N Uff from I don't know how long ago, like when Joe Pick would take the pictures for us, and we'd have pictures like the fighters, and I have them pop up, and it was like just us and the team and things like that, and you're like, man. So I have a lot of memories that pop up from the back rooms, the train, the warm-up rooms or cage side or all that shit that pop up. And I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. And it's not just, oh, that was Jeff. It's like you have this, you've built this thing that all of us can get into and build other shit out of. And it's great. Like, I thank you and your brother.
Wow, that's awesome to hear. And I'm glad that you come, and I hope you guys will please come and
of course.
in this time that's between now and when I get to see you guys, just stay safe and healthy, please. I mean, I don't know what the heck the future holds, but I look forward to a time when we can all be hanging out, watching fights, and that brings to mind a quick memory that I'll share with you guys. So, we're talking about all the cool people like you guys who are there, and like all these just random fans that became fans of our sport, probably from watching like a family member or friend of theirs fight at Tuff N Uff. Now they're hooked on the sport. Well, as you can imagine, like I said, we're just two normal dudes, brothers from Chicago, trying to do this thing. And then we're in this casino, and we got this opportunity to really impress the casino in hopes that they want us back. Are we bringing enough people? Is it the right people? Are they happy? And then, you bring in a celebrity like one of these Randy Coutures or something, right? And then you see the marketing girl from the casino flies right up there, taking pictures, posting it to their social media. So it's like, really reassuring. And, anybody that might be listening to this, thank you for coming to Tuff N Uff. And if you haven't come, please come. I would really love to see you there. I think that you'll have the best time. And if you might not be a fight fan yet, I don't know why you'd be listening to this or watching this, but if you're just, you love Kelly or you love Kurt, but you don't know if you love fights, come to a Tuff N Uff. I guarantee you'll love it.
Definitely. You got a couple more minutes, then we'll let you go. Kurt, you got any questions real quick?
No, actually, most of the questions I was going to ask you covered, Kelly. But what I did want to say is kind of to rewind a little bit. Just you and your brother, just thanks for, legalizing amateur MMA, because actually the time that you guys were talking about, 2007, 2008, 2009, there was no amateur fights. Like, if you wanted to fight, you fought as a pro. And I know a lot of guys that were coming up at the same time as me, they started their pro career too early, and they didn't get the opportunity to kind of build up their skills, and they kind of have a lopsided record now. But yeah, like for me, I was just fighting on Indian reservations at the time. And, I kind of just barely missed Tuff N Uff, but it's so awesome, to have like a reputable amateur organization so that guys, have a pathway to, make it to professional. Yeah. So yeah, just thanks for that. And that, it was just cool talking to you.
Thanks, man. Likewise, Kurt. And, like we have on our cage, always every event, it says, thank you, Barry Meyer. So I would say, the credit is to my brother. So thanks for acknowledging that, and really awesome to talk to you guys this morning.
All right. Real quick questions that I ask everybody, and these are the fun ones. So you're not a competitor, but what is the one food that you eat that you're like, fuck, I shouldn't be eating this shit?
Oh my God, Jack in the Box tacos.
Oh yeah, Jeff.
I mean, I haven't. I broke down the other day. I hadn't eaten. I don't think I've had them in over a year. Okay, I've been trying to eat a little bit better, not so much fast food. But those things are like $2 for $1.
Right.
Okay, they're the worst food. I don't even know if they're food. It's like there's the same nutritional value as eating a piece of paper, probably.
Oh, way worse.
But yeah, unfortunately, that's one of them.
What music are you rolling around listening to?
Pretty much like classic rock, like maybe a little Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd.
Okay. Pro weed. I don't ever ask that, but I want to put it out there for you.
Yeah, you can pretty much say that.
The other one is what movie? What is your like go-to movie? Pick you up or motivate you or something like that. What is a go-to movie?
Well, I'm a big Chris Farley fan, so like Beverly Hills Ninja comes to mind.
I forgot about that movie. That one's fun.
Yeah, I love that. And he's like, what does he say? Are you communicating with me? Are you communicating with me? Love that movie.
I love Tommy Boy. Oh yeah, that's great. And then last one, Aliens. What's your take on Aliens, real quick? We don't have another hour for you. We don't want to keep you that long. But I know that if you're already pro weed, you're kind of open minded. So
yeah, I mean, look, I feel like you'd have to be pretty naive to think that we're the only life form in this entire universe. Do I believe that we have aliens working at Area 51 that we're like in bed with and kind of like already taking over? I don't know. But I do believe, some of that stuff I've seen, like on Ancient Aliens, one of my favorite shows ever.
I love that guy. The hair guy.
With the hair. Yeah. But they're like, okay, so after Roswell, how come all this, like, advances in technology happen? Like, boom. All of a sudden, we're in space, we got nuclear technology, like, okay, so man has been alive for a million, bazillion years, and all of a sudden, in record time, all of a sudden we're on the moon, and, so it's a really fascinating topic, and I have to think that they're out there. I just, I'm not personally, like, friends with any aliens that I'm aware of.
That you're aware of. You live in Vegas. I'm pretty sure I was friends with some aliens living there.
Yeah. My neighbors are probably shapeshifters.
You never know. Jeff, man, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, the last time we talked in person was in the AM/PM or whatever the hell that Jiffy Mart was.
Rebel. Gas station.
And I said, hey, you said, what are you up to? And I said, I'm moving to Thailand. And I said, you're welcome to come, man. So when I get back over there, book a trip, take a vacation, come over when everything's open. More than welcome. I got a spot for you. You stay. I'll show you all the good shit.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'd love to come out.
Of course. So, Jeff, man, again, thank you. Thank you, Barry. Both of you guys have built something wonderful that has given us all amazing memories, and it keeps building the sport, and I appreciate it so much.
Thank you very much, Kelly and Kurt. It was an honor to be on, and thanks for having me.
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you, Jeff.
thank you.
All right, buddy. You have a great day, okay?
You too. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you once again for listening to the #1 combat sports podcast,
Let's go.
the Fight Chase Muay Thai and MMA podcast. You can follow us on Fight Chase on all the social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And also, don't forget you can support us at any time going to the anchor.fm/fightchase, hit the support icon, and you can support us for as little as 99 cents a month. We truly appreciate it. Thank you for listening. And Kurt, don't say boom.
Boom.
The big kibbles! Lobs out moisture, seals in freshness. Good